Go ahead, fire away.
Matt, what were your first impressions of Bryce Foster?
So you're still getting to know him, right? Especially in our program, how we do things, but he fits in really well. You know, I think with a guy like that, with getting half of a summer, the thing is you want to see how do guys respond to adversity, how do guys respond to, and do they really have that grittiness and all those things, and he's done an outstanding job so far showing that he does. You know, and in our program and the way we do things, that's imperative. You know, the stars don't really matter, and it don't really matter where you've played before. For us, you've got to have those things and check those boxes. And so I think for Bryce, we can all obviously use our eyeballs and look at him and see he checks the physical boxes. Character-wise and the way he's been in the locker room with the guys, he checks those boxes, and he's showing on the field right now and how we go about and how we're doing things that he also can check that other box, and that's one's the most important in our program. So that's been very good. So in a long-winded answer, he's doing great. We're very happy to have him.
Guys the other day were saying, just talking about how big he is, like you just mentioned, considering the data that you sort of track with your players, is there anything that you've seen that stood out from him?
I mean, when a guy's neck is the size of my waist, it stands out pretty quickly. I feel bad for the collared shirt he's going to try to put on here this first game, but it's moving patterns. I think there's a lot of cool stuff with him too, from doing all the shot put and discus stuff that he's kind of done and being more of a rotational athlete. There's things called fascial slings and more or less how different joints kind of cross and work together, and for him, he's very developed in that nature. So there's some power output things that he can do that are just really unique that maybe you don't see typically in a guy that plays that position. So I'm really excited to get an off season with him. You know, like it was really just when he got here, our perspective from training was just we got to get this guy ready to play football, right? You're not really doing things to enhance performance, or even really you don't have time to really measure some of the deficiencies that he might have, strengths, and not even really develop an individualized training program. It's really just we got to get this guy to be able to practice. You guys watch enough of our practices, you know you can't just walk off the streets and do those. So his was more about that. So I'm really fired to get off season with him.
With Caleb Taylor, just what sort of growth have you seen from the end of the season last year to the start of camp and even throughout camp with his weight?
Yeah, you know, in general, I guess I respect the question. The more I think about these older guys that we have like Caleb Taylor, it's such a process. And I think it'd be a disservice for me to say that it's been since January that he's made that progress. I mean, Caleb fought us as hard as anybody fought us when we first got here on everything, on just how we were going to do it, the way we implement things and demand things. So to think about the character and the leadership and those things that he's done and just the buy-in level, which we're talking June 2021 is really when this started. I mean, he was battling us halfway through the season of that year, you know. So you take that and you look at a 268-pound Caleb Taylor trying to line up down in Texas in 2021, and then you look at a guy that's sitting at 315 to 18 pounds right now. That part's cool, but as I always kind of get circled back to, it's the cultural part of you've seen him just grow as a young man so much, and so it's not a since January thing, right? It's truly been a 3.5 year process. Of him committing to it and not just kind of showing up, but really doing it. And that's the part that feels really good. That when you look at that and go, this wasn't just something like, oh, the light bulb flipped in January and now we're here. It's been years that he's been doing this, and so to see it pay off and to see him in this position now, that part, you know how rewarding it is for him, and that's what gets me up in the morning. That's fantastic.
Same idea with a guy like Cable do and his nutrition. He's been getting a lot of love for that last
and
so.
I'll tell you what, you know, Katie O'Connor has been a tremendous addition to our staff. I cannot tell you guys how much she has done for our program and her nutrition staff. Mm-hmm. You know, I think from a standpoint of a lot of different ways, but she has been huge in everything, in the cultural aspect of things, what she's done for the players, ideas she's brought in. Like it has been a huge uptick, and I think that has been a huge part of some of these changes. So please don't tweet out that I'm doing anything special, guys. She has been outstanding, and she's really been helpful in this process of what we've done this year. But yeah, Bryce is the exact same way. And even, you know, Bryce at times was a guy that needed to get his emotions under control in certain situations, and to see him grow as a man as well, it's why you do this. And then you see, you know, he's in that elite category of, I would put him up against, you know, physically any offensive lineman in the country. You're talking about a guy who's 318 pounds, 24% body fat, can jump a 34-inch vertical, runs the way he runs, bends the way he bends, I mean, he's as good as you're going to find. When we sat up here and talked, Brian, when I think I talked with you our first year here, you know, we talked about that there would be a time where this team would take the field and there would be some physical imposing demands on how they looked. When we talk about Bryce Cable, that's what I was talking about, that we would develop those kind of guys. And so, yeah, I mean, that year, let's rewind back to that. He was 282 pounds taking snaps in the Big 12.
Yeah.
You know, and so once again, you think of that development, it's cool. It's really cool to see it kind of all come to fruition.
Before we get too far with Katie, what is it about her approach? Is it the way she connects with the guys? Is it, you mentioned new ideas? I mean, what if you can get into that a little more? I'm interested.
You know, I think there's a ton of alignment with the culture of things, because she's really young in her career as well, and so she's going to keep getting better and better at what she does. But you know, she hasn't had a lot of time to connect with the guys. She hasn't been here, you know, too long either. So to me, it's been a unique way of how she has taken what we do nutritionally and embodying it with the culture of this program and how we go about it. And truly, you know, with her, she demands it and she doesn't give them a choice. And honestly, she's pretty hard on them. And sometimes, you know, they need that. And so I think that's been tremendous. And you know, previous staff left it in a good place. And you know what our whole philosophy here is leave it there and you found it. And so she's made it her mission to try to take it to one step higher. And she's done that. And so we're really happy with her, and I know she's not satisfied with where it's at by any means, and she wants to keep on growing it and elevating it as well. But I think that is going to be a tremendous part of the continued progression of our program.
Dean Miller, guy that said he was in the 180s and coming out of high school, will probably go back to that.
Coming out of last season, shit.
Yeah, as soon as he gets out of his strength program and eating and everything, what has it meant for him to be able to hold that weight and everything else? And then we've also heard that he does really well on the GPS testing and all of those things.
Yeah, there was no question of Dean's ability, or even strain for that matter, when really since he's been here, for whatever reason. And I've asked Dean multiple times, you know, what did we not do to maybe get it to click sooner? And he just kind of said, there's nothing you guys could have done. I just had to make the decision, and that was really it. And for him, he might kind of be one of those light bulb moments, to where he had a meeting with Coach Leipold, and that's one thing. If you know, I respect a ton of things about Coach Leipold, but Coach Leipold is brutally honest with any player, and he will tell them exactly how it is. You are, as an athlete in our program, you are never going to get the runaround from our head football coach. He will tell you exactly what you need to hear. He will never tell you what you want to hear, and I respect that tremendously about Coach Leipold. And he had a hard meeting with Dean, and that is what it is. And Dean responded to that meeting. And pretty much when he walked out of the doors of that meeting, he decided he was going to buy in to the things that we have. The resources we have here, guys. I mean, you come in here and you guys probably all gained 3 pounds just from walking past the filling station, let alone stopping at it, okay? So, yeah, I mean, the resources were there the whole time. Dean just decided to buy in a little bit harder. He was never a guy that was, you know, wouldn't really, he always trained hard. He just wouldn't fuel. He wouldn't do those things. And for whatever reason, he wasn't willing to at those moments. And he has totally changed that. And what he's done with his body has been, that's, I don't know if you guys saw that, I think Matt Holland put out a picture of his progress. I mean, it's as impressive of a guy taking, and really that progress was all this year. I mean, that's really all in the last 7 months is really what that was. But to be a guy that works like that, and then Dean's a guy that can run 22 miles an hour. I mean, to have that kind of speed and the potential to have that kind of size, he's going to be a special one. I don't think it's going to be a huge fall off from some of the things we've had in the past at that position. So excited about that one.
DJ is someone we've seen just running around at practice, looks the part. What has stood out to you just getting to maybe work with him a little bit more rather than like when maybe you saw him on his recruiting visit a summer ago?
I think, you know, it's really fun to get to build a relationship with DJ, which we're kind of in the process of right now. But he's a guy that cares so much, you know. But those new guys, they come on campus and it's tough because we create expectations for them, right? There's people back home that create expectations for them. But you know, the one thing that we have to constantly remind any of those guys about, no matter whether they're a 10-star or a 1-star, is our expectations for them have nothing to do with their performance on the field. We ask for their best attitude, their best effort. We ask them to be coachable, and we ask them to be on time. So nobody sat DJ down and said, DJ, if you don't have 7 sacks this year, you're a failure. We haven't even told him, if you don't play this year, like, we're not putting those expectations on him. And so for DJ, where DJ's at right now, is his effort is tremendous. Him and Dean have the highest player loads in that room every day. But for DJ, it's about reaffirming in his mind that nothing else besides those 4 things I said matter. When you go home at night, whether you make 28 mistakes or you make 8 mistakes, I want to know, did you give your best effort, yes or no? Did you have a great attitude? Were you coachable? When you got coached, were you able to take the coaching and apply it? And did you show up on time? Because the one thing that I've seen over my career, and Coach Leipold is who I stole this from, so that's 30 plus years. You do those 4 things, and that becomes your process. Everything else will work out. But when you become inspired by the outcome and just motivated by the process, and it's not the other way around, to where, yeah, the results, the outcome, that motivates me, but I'm inspired by the day-to-day. When those relationships get inversed, then that's when you get guys that are stressed and anxious and all those things. And so with DJ right now, it's about just showing up and getting better every day. And he has given hell of an effort. So I think the more that we can just, with DJ, continue to harp on, focus on those 4 things. And if you don't focus on anything else, you'll be okay. Just do those 4 things and the results will come. And so I think that's where we're at there. But love the kid. Like I said, I'm really, really enjoying just building a relationship with him. Just getting to know the kind of unique young man he is, how much he cares, what he's willing to do to get it at such a young age, to be as mature as he is. So he's got a really bright future, right? Whenever that is, he's going to help this program a ton. And I'm really excited for him to get to experience that.
Anything else for Coach Sleeve? All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
appreciate it.